our visiting lecturer, Associate Professor Dr. Samsur bin Mohamad from the Faculty of Resource Science and Technology, University of Malaysia Sarawak. A renowned scholar with extensive expertise in marine biology, coral ecology, and aquatic resource management. We also have with us Mr. Hadiana SPM SC from Universitas Brawijaya, who will be our host for today's lecture. Without further ado, please welcome Associate Prof. Dr. Samsur bin Mohamad.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I hope everybody can hear me. Is it clear?
Yes, Prof.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. Thank you for the beginning of the introduction. I think I would like to say Assalamualaikum, selamat pagi semua. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to be with the student of Brawijaya today, this morning. I hope everybody is okay and fine with it. I hope the weather there is also good. Okay, to begin with, I think thank you to Bapak Hadiana for giving me the opportunity to be visiting lecturers of this morning session at the topic of a coral reef ecosystem. So I hope everybody, students, be ready. By the end of this class, I prepared some very quick Google form MCQ question to see how students can bear with me. I hope within 1 and 30 minutes and 1 hour, something like that. And hope students can make some notes and focus on this topic. I think these are very good topics because this is also related to your program. And I think most of you already learned a bit of the beginning of your session. And I think I will already go through a bit that you already done with the mangrove ecosystem studies. I think that's a good also to relate what is coming for this coming topic. So let's begin. I will share my slide. I want to use the PowerPoint, but somehow I'm a little bit worried because due to the internet connectivity, it could be some glitch maybe, but I'm going to use the PDF file. I'm really sorry because I cannot use the PowerPoint. Okay, I hope everybody can see my slide. Is it okay, my slide? Okay, so let's begin. I'm Dr. Samsur. I'm actually I'm graduated from University of Nagasaki University in Japan. Actually, I've done my master's and PhD. I hope everybody can follow. Okay, good. So today's topics, I'm going to give some introduction about corals. We begin with the corals. Normally, everybody should get some ideas. What is the coral? Coral is composed of tiny plates or layer of calcium carbonate secreted over time by hundreds of soft bodies animals called coral polyp. So that's the terms, the calcium carbonates as the body or the structures, and also there's hundreds of soft body. There's a two combination, the hard and also the soft thing that called polyp that's composed of coral. Okay, coral polyp range in size from less than a millimeter to several centimeter length, and each polyp lives in a symbiotic relationship with zooxanthellae, which give the color in corals. Okay, that's why we can see there's so many colors in the coral. That's why it's a symbiotic relationship between coral and zooxanthellae. Zooxanthellae is very important in the coral because it takes its carbon dioxide and processes it through photosynthesis. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry, there's some glitch there a bit. So zooxanthellae takes its carbon dioxide and process eat through photosynthesis and give off oxygen and important nutrients that are used to use by the host polyps. Okay. As in all photosynthesizing organisms, this means that coral must be exposed to sufficient amount of light. This reflects that we understand that normally coral needs sunlight. So in that means we can see normally coral can be found in the shallow waters that are clean and clear. This is the way the coral grows. They are depending on light. That's why they must be shallow water. Okay, let's go to the next slide. To more in terms of taxonomy or more very specific, corals known as invertebrate animals. Okay, everybody must clear. Coral is animals, even though it look like flowers, but it's a invertebrate. Invertebrate. I think everybody know invertebrate. Animals that are under phylum Cindaria. Okay, just go at the bottoms here. You can see some classification, the phylum and the class and the subclass and order. You can find that under phylum Cindaria there is Anthozoa at the last part, and it's also Zooxantheria. This is all the hard coral. But there is an Octocoralia, that is the soft coral. So even though that you can find something like sea anemone also in a group of corals. Okay? I think I need to use some markers here. Okay, sorry. This is what I show you, the Cindaria, Anthozoa, and this is Zooxantheria and Octocoralia. And you can see here within coral there is a sea anemone in this hard coral. Okay, each coral colony consists of many identical polyps. The polyps is identical, connected by living tissue. Okay, you go this side. You can see here these are living tissues that link polyps. Okay, and there is a cut of coral, there is a marks of coral, since we know this is an animal, and there is a defense system they call tentacles that contain nematocytes that can sting the cells to provide any predator to eat the polyps. Okay, so within the polyps there is a zooxanthellae. I already informed you. At the bottom part is the skeleton, the hard part. The skeletons. Okay, you can see the skeleton, and there's a limestone calcis that exists. This is how the polyp structure. You can find something like this, and it's very important for coral. Okay, so coral polyps build protective skeleton of calcium carbonates that form reefs over thousands of years. That's the very importance of coral polyps that make it something like a very hard form, okay, in way to protect the coral itself. Okay. Next, we go to the next slide. Oh, sorry. I need to Okay, coral is the most biological diverse ecosystem on Earth. Even though that's revealed only by the tropical rainforest, we know that most diverse is a tropical rainforest. They're made up only on hard and soft coral, but also sponges, crustaceans, mollusks, fish, sea turtles, even shark, dolphins, and much more. Okay. The competition of resources such as food, space, and sunlight are some of the primary factors in determining the abundance of the diversity organism on a reef. And each component of coral reef is dependent upon and interconnected with countless other plants, animals, and organisms. That's why the dynamic of the coral ecosystems, they are quite dynamic. Okay, that means that fluctuation in the abundance of one species can drastically alter the both of the diversity and the abundance of others. This is a very important point to show that the abundance of one species can alter drastically above diversity and abundance of others. Why the uniqueness of these ecosystems? While natural causes, okay, we mentioned about natural causes like hurricanes, large storms, can stimulus of each alteration, and is more commonly anthropogenic forces. Anthropogenic, I think everybody know, is related to human activity that cause to the coral ecosystems. Okay, for example, overfishing. Okay, in this case, let me see that what happened when herbivorous fish often been overfishing. This can come up with the results of the increase of growth of algae. There is no more fish that can graze on algae. Okay, this is a general result in increase of other herbivores. It means that the decreasing of herbivores cause the increasing of others herbivores such as sea urchins. That could be not in balance to the ecosystem. This is what is the coral important, the dynamic, and when any kind of very small alteration within the ecosystem can cause very big impacts. Okay, over the time, all ecosystem will naturally establish this type balance between predators and prey and organism in competition for similar resources. This is about the coral. Okay. Okay, the coral ecosystem is a kind of a diverse collection. We conclude that it's diverse collections of species that interact each others and the physical environment. They are connecting very well and it's very important. They are depending on sun, and those photosynthesis is very important for phytoplankton and algae. And we know that for zooxanthellae cells, they're going to pass this thing into the animals and other plants. Okay. Coral provide habitats, so we know that it's the glance view that coral provide habitats for large varieties of, we can call as a marine plants or animals, that these plants and animals rely on coral as sources of food and shelter. For instance, sponges are found inhabiting in holes in the reef. They remove small chips from the coral. These sponges, such as Cleona, I think, cause deterioration of corals, but sponges inhabit coral for the purpose of protection from the predator. So, even though we know that coral is itself is an ecosystem, but somehow there is other organism that also been in the coral. Other like seaworm depend on coral for food. They feed corals such as Porites and Agarcia. Even some of the seaworms graze on the coral itself. Shrimps, crabs depend on coral for shelter, and normally there is a very unique crabs they call xanthic crabs. Xanthic crab is a kind of colorful crabs that known to be a coral crabs. You can find in the coral reefs. And other fish like parrotfish are depending on corals as they become a predator in the ecosystem. Other than that, like sea star, or they call as a crown of thorns, it's kind of very popular species that can eat the coral. Sometimes they can destroy the coral. There are many species like fungi, sponges, sea swarm, crustacean, and other mollusks that bore into coral skeleton. And other organisms that inhabit the coral reef include sea urchin, jellyfish, oyster, clams, turtles, and sea anemones. I think this one is quite general that you know that this is how the diverse of the coral reef. Even though there is some specific thing, the importance of coral to our environment. Actually, the coral reef are a wave resistant. They also can be a wave breaker. They are reducing the force of wave towards to the tidal area. Then this gives some advantage to us and very important to life saving, especially those people inhabit along the coastal area. So they can save our kind of very important like residents, like ports. Why we need to really take a very serious thing about coral. They they can reduce, okay? You can see from this left, I think from your side, this coral reef can reduce average 97%, okay, of the wave. That means from the open water, they have a reef crest and a reef flat and the shorelines. The average of total wave will reduce is over 97%, and the total wave height reduced is like 84%. This is how the facts that why coral is very important, and even they can protect our life, okay? It's very important. They can also reduce the coastal erosions here. Normally we can see with the high wave and high energy of tides or wave can erode some of the coastal structures here. Then this is the importance of the coral reef, which can reduce the wave action. This is our unique been formed by the biological activity, and also other than that, they also can known as the richest biodiversity. So some facts that said that coral ecosystem is occupy less than 0.1% of the ocean surface, but they provide home for 20% of marine species. This is how diverse of coral reef. I hope you can follow me. I now start with the origin of the reef. There is a different type of the reef. It's very important to know, and there is several theories here, but today I just want to focus on Darwin theories, how the origin of the reef. Okay, based on Darwin theories of coral reef formation, is they propose after they have some voyage on this HMS Beagles 1842. They explain how different types of corals reef started from fringe reef, barrier reef, and atolls developed over long of geological periods. And this is based on subsidence, gradual sinking of volcanic islands, and upwards of coral growth. Okay, there is some figures here. So you just focus on the fringe reef first. Okay. From here, this is called as the first stage of reef development. This is the coral. The white color here is a coral. You can see from your screen. Okay, coral grows directly alongside the shoreline. This is shoreline of the volcanic island. Shallow lagoon, if any, between land and reef, and could be there is shallow, but there's no really clear, okay? Coral grow limited by water depth, so they are limited and need sunlight for photosynthesis. And there's some example like volcanic island in Pacific. And next, we can find they turn into the barrier reef. This is an example of fringe reef. You can see it's quite clear to the shoreline, okay? So the keywords, fringe reef is something like coral reef that near to the shorelines, so that are born to the land. And the second one is a barrier reef. Now focus to the second photo. Here's there's a barrier reef. Island begin to subside slowly. This is the islands. Subside slowly due to the crustal movements, okay? Coral continues to grow. Corals continue to grow. So you can see, I just draw the arrow. Grows upward and outward. Here or here. And maintaining position near the sea surface. Okay, as we mentioned earlier, that coral only can survive within the shallow water because coral needs sunlight. Okay, a wide and deep lagoon forms. You can see this is a lagoon. There's a very wide and deep lagoon formed between the island and the reef. The reef becomes separated from the land by the lagoon. So we can see here there is a gap. Compare here. Fringe reefs normally they are born to the shoreline. Okay. Now the reef becomes separated from the land and by the lagoon. Now we have a lagoon here. So next, One of the example is the Great Barrier Reef. This is an example of barrier reef, like Great Barrier Reef, a very famous reef in Australia, and Maldives Barrier Reef. Okay. The last part of the theory of Darwin, they said that the final stage is a form of atolls. Atolls, okay? Atolls here you can see at the last page, the last part of the diagram. Atolls. The volcanic island completely sink below the sea. So here, this is the island, and now we cannot see any island here. Already sink completely below the sea level. And the coral grows continuous at the surface, forming circular reef. This is called a circular reef ring. Enclose a central lagoons with no central island. There's no more islands here. Then the atoll marks the original position of former volcanic islands. So here, this is the original, okay? You can compare here, this is the original stage of the reef formation. This example are Bikini Atolls and the Maldives. I hope you can understand how the formation or the evolutions of coral reef, because we can find like fringe reef, barrier reef, and atoll reef. Okay, this is important when we talk about coral reef ecosystem. This is the atolls Belize. As you know, it's something like the circular shapes, and atolls of Maldives. So I think this is how the diagram describes the process of the. This is the show from here. We can see already below, being sunk into the below of the sea level. We cannot find any of it, but the coral still exists and grows. Okay. Next, we can see this is the observation from the tops. Again, you can see the lagoon and the barrier reef, and also the fringe reef. So we already know how the formation of the coral. Actually, when we talk about coral reef ecology, we need to understand biotic and abiotic. Even the ecosystem itself, you need to know the biotic and abiotic factors that influencing the distribution and abundance of living of the coral community. So coral occur throughout the ocean, but colonial reef building. Okay, here there's a new terms. I think maybe you're already familiar. The hermatopics. Hermatopics. So hermatopics normally are related to hard coral. Coral are confined to the tropic and subtropic, where classification rates are greatly enhanced. It's tropics and subtropics. Reef grow best in warm, so marine. So it's quite difficult, I think, to find out in the fresh water. And shallow and clear means that the importance of light for zooxanthellae, and sunny and agitated waters. This is the importance of reef growth. Okay. So from the map, you can see the distribution of major coral reef in the world ocean. Okay, here. So let's say like Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines. From here we can see this is part of the area, Southeast Asia region, because we are in a tropical country and very warm water, and you can see from here most of the coral found throughout tropical and subtropical ocean, ranging from 30 latitude north and 30 latitude south area. Okay, you can find mostly here. Okay, like I'm discussed about the Great Barrier Reef. This is a Great Barrier Reef. This is area like Southeast Asia and Caribbean side. This is the Caribbean, and we cannot find any kind of in the north part, in the pool side, very low temperature. Okay, less of it we can find, and this is important. We know where we can find coral. Okay, in the warm, shallow tropical sea. So within a major region, there is a major regions of coral area. Okay, from this map we showed about the global biodiversity zooxanthellae. So they are accounting on zooxanthellae to describe the diversity because they easily can identify using remote sensing watercolors. Okay, so we can see there is the color, degree of color. We can found it this here. The darker like red color is more high density. Okay, from here what we can see, most Southeast Asia area high in terms of biodiversity of coral reef. Even though there is other important like in Caribbean, but a little bit less of diversity means that there are many species compared to other places. Even in the Great Barrier Reef, even they have a large of the diverse of coral, but there are less diversity. So we would call the diversity. So in our region, there is one area that called as a Coral Triangle Initiative. This is a very important point that you should know. Why these other countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Timor-Leste, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Island and Philippines combine together to come up with a Coral Triangle Initiative. Okay, this is how our Asian country manage on the coral ecosystem. As we know from this map, we have high in terms of diversity. Diversity means that we have many kind of species of corals. Okay, how about another region like Great Barrier Reef? This part, you can see this is part. Okay, they also have a consider high in terms of diversity. And the last part is the Caribbean area. Maybe everybody know about the Pirate of Caribbean, okay? The Pirate of Caribbean movie. I hope you already know this one. I think you can relate on this one. This is the Caribbean side. Normally there's also have a coral in terms of intensity. Okay, we move to one of the important Coral Triangle Initiative within our region, Asian countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Timor-Leste, even Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands. The initiative are taking on, especially on coral reef, fisheries and food security, in way we want to conserve the ecosystem, in way to ensure that there is a high in terms of biodiversity, especially those things like fish that are in the habitat in the area. Okay, that's important. Why they are do this kind of initiative and project. You can see from this picture the lots of different types of diversity, especially in warm water and shallow waters around the region. This is a Great Barrier Reef. They also put some, they call as marine park. They gazetted our marine protected area. Mostly, you can see from the very clear bit about how the map of Great Barrier Reef. And this is a Caribbean. There are many countries here like Belize, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, Jamaica, Cuba, Bahamas. This is the most in the Caribbean country. Okay, now we're going to think about what is the abiotic and biotic factors that affecting coral reef. So, as you know that I already give you some ideas, the latitude, okay? The latitude. Normally coral distribution are within 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south. And so within that time, and equatorial is higher in terms of diversity. Okay? Then we talk about temperature. They need a warm water. And light, they need a very high of light. And even salinity is important because seldom we found a coral in the freshwater area because the salinity is a marine species, and even the turbidity and sedimentation also are very important because when it's very high of particle or solids in the water that can inhibit the sunlight penetration into the area. That's very cause some coral to do some photosynthesis and so for food processing. Okay, and the wave action also and area exposures. These are limiting factors. Okay, coral reef. We know that RD6 really on variety of biotic and biotic factors that keep them healthy and functional, and without stable temperature, pH, light, intensity, water flow, salinity and chemical composition in seawater, coral could not exist. But without a stable trophic cascade, coral reefs could not survive also. There's a combination of biotic and abiotic factors. Okay, what is the biotic and abiotic factors? Normally, like biotic factors, it's a competitors like disease, predators, food availability, habitat availability, and symbiotic relationship. I think in coral, the most important is a symbiotic relationship in where they can sustain and grow, okay? And other like biotic factors, like I already mentioned, like pH, temperatures, water condition, water availability, chemical, nutrients, oxygen, and pollution also could come up with as a factors that limiting on the coral reef. I think when you do some water quality analysis, you have several parameters that you're going to measure, isn't it? You go to the field, you're going to use some probes, and you go and collect the water quality. That is the important why you need to know why those water quality parameters is important for biological and also some important for the ecosystems, okay? Okay, now after we know that, we a little bit go narrow down a bit the types of coral. As I mentioned earlier, there is two types of corals: hard corals and soft coral. Because this part I'm quite interested on this part because I love the taxonomy studies on coral actually, because it's very important. We can see, okay, you can see from this left side how the tentacle is look like, okay. This is the green colors, okay. As I mentioned that the zooxanthellae is in the polyp and the structures, and we want to identify the coral. We should know, especially on their septa, tentacles, and mesenteries. Normally, if we need to identify the coral, the easy way we need to see the dead coral. Because when you see in the field, like here, the picture of polyp, sometimes quite difficult to identify what of the species. I think you need to put some interest to, especially to identify the corals underwater. It's very interesting. I hope everybody have their own diving license and you can go everywhere in the coral area in Indonesia. I think there are many places, as I showed that in the CTI, Coral Triangle area, there's many space that you can go and see corals in your real lives, okay, in your real lives. Okay, so here that we know that coral is kind of sclerotinians, a stony coral, produce a rigid skeleton, calcium carbonate. That's why calcium carbonate is important in crystal, and also can form called ergonites. These are terms. Structures like septa, tentacles, and mesenteries. And for hard coral, there is six. That's why hard coral they call hexacoral. Hexacoral. Okay. This is the why the six refer to septa. Okay. I show you what is the septa. Okay. This is the septa. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I just make some draw here. Little bit clear. You can see number one. Little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is what we call 6 secta. Okay, from here, a little bit difficult sometimes. We can see number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 somewhere here. That's why sometimes quite difficult. That's why I mentioned that the best way to identify the coral is through the dead coral. And somehow when you go to the field, you can assume it and how the structure. Okay, there is several species that are under the hard coral. Okay, everything this here is a hard coral. So here you can see mesentery. They call as a mesentery. There's a complete mesentery structures and incomplete mesentery structures. Okay, and another term like columella. Columella is in between of it. Okay, so this one is septa. This one is how sclerotinian known as a hexacoral based on 6 septa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, this is a structure, anatomic structure of coral. Okay, next. This is a kind of figure. Okay, normally we can see this they call corallite. It's a corallite, the whole structure, and this is septa. Again, I just want to make sure everybody knows how the structure of coral. So this structure, then there is a soft tissue structure, zooxanthellae, they call polyps, on the top of it. Okay. Okay, another interesting about coral, when you study on coral, you can also see the corallite morphologies. Okay, there is never different terms like corallite morphologies, like polycoid, pecceloid, ceroid, mandrioid, falabellomandrioid, and terminasteroid. Okay, for polycoid is common one. You can see they have their own wall. Okay, their own wall. So here they have their own wall. They are grooved up. They are grooved up here. But the pecceloids, the separate walls of polyps are tall. A little bit, as you can see from this figure, it's a tall one. It's quite a bit shorter. And for multiple polyp corallite share single wall. This one is, we cannot see a very clear of wall. Okay, we cannot see the clear of wall. They are sharing a single wall. And the mandrioid is kind of a polyp share corallite walls and form valleys. Okay, this is a little bit, they also come up with the valleys. And this is a very beautiful one. Timna asteroid, multiple corallite share septocostae, subseptocostae, and the last one is a falabellomandrioid. Polyps have their own corallite walls but are mandrioid. So we need to refer the mandrioid. They have own corallite wall but are mandrioids. Okay, this is interesting about coral, and even you can see there is a different colors, but somehow when you need to identify, we need to also see their corallite structures. Because nowadays there's a very limited, or I can say there's a number of researchers, especially in taxonomy, are a little bit not growth for me. Because I need to encourage many people to become a taxonomist, because it's a very interesting field, especially on the morphology. Okay. So. Okay, we still have a few slides. Okay, I hope I can manage it within the time. Okay, one of the characteristic features of a coral, hermatypic coral, is the presence of unicellular algae. They call Symbiodinium microerythicum. This is the zinc of zooxanthellae, okay, within the gastrodermal tissues. This symbiotic zooxanthellae influence coral growth and classification rates and play a fundamental role in the rebuilding. So from here, the structure, you can see clearly people can manage to get an image of the zooxanthellae inside the coral here. And this, they are symbiont inside it. This is how now the technologies, people can get it, how the structure of zooxanthellae. So, this is also the same things like zooxanthellae. There's a node, and this is samples of coral, hard coral. There's a structure. The first one is, here is a brain coral. It's a brain coral. Brain coral. This one is foliose coral. Foliose coral. And the last one is staghorn. You can see now something like horn. This is staghorn coral. Next, we go to the morphology of types of hard coral. Okay, there is something like coral that's solitary. It's a free living corals. So this is a free living coral. And we can see encrusting coral. There's also corimbrous porous, digitates, abroscens, columnar, foliose, tabular, and massive. Okay, this normally this is called a massive one, like brain coral. Okay, it's almost similar of our brain, human brain, and globular types, massive, branching like staghorn coral, folios or leaf-like and plate-like. This is how we can see the coral. You can see at my background, there's types of hard coral shapes. Okay. So next one is about soft coral. So we know that soft corals. Okay, the next term you can going to learn today the words like hermatypic coral, also known as soft coral, and it's a allostonia and do not produce a rigid calcium carbonate skeleton, and this coral not form reef. Okay, that's why when we talk about coral reef, we exclude soft coral actually ecosystem, because the reef is the builder. I mean the structure. Okay, throughout them, and atomic structure of tentacles and mesenteries are found set of 8. Okay, I just show you the hard coral. They have a 6. Now they have 8 here. 8. Okay, so soft coral are often called octocorals, or known as octocoralia. Okay, octo means 8. Okay, that's why easy for the scientific way or taxonomy. You can know that it's a soft coral or hard coral. So this is the structure of soft coral we can find in the sea. Okay. Okay, a little bit comparatively we want to make it here. So hard coral. Hard coral is a rigid calcium carbonate skeleton, but soft coral no rigid internal support by spiny structure called scleriates or a protein core, and a reef building. Normally hard coral is a reef builders, but soft coral is non-reef building, but live within reef ecosystem. Okay, often stony and unmoving, but this one they are flexible. Maybe some of it like sea fan, sea worms, they are flexible. It's something like resemble to plant, like bushes or fans. Typical tentacles, they have multiples of 6. They have multiples of 8, soft coral. Defend then retract the polyp into their hard skeleton. Rely on chemical defense. Here, they retract their polyp to the hard skeletons, and sometimes they have a defensive system like nematocides. Sting, and this one rely on the chemical defense to repel predator and competitor. This is how they differentiate between hard corals and soft coral. So, then we know that here there is many diversity of coral. As we know that many organisms and coral are also being threatened due to certain effect. Okay, so this is how the community of coral. Okay, coral reefs community. There is a sea urchins, sea fan. Sea fan is a soft corals, and also this is a brain coral, so hard corals. Also there is flatworms, and there is snail, parrotfish, worsels, tiger fishes, zooplankton, demersal fishes like butterfly fishes. So a number of animals, coral, delicate, and many other fish on the mucus, they are connecting each other. Okay. So one of it, we need to know about the nutrition. The coral develops several unique ways of feeding, and they receive nutrients from the symbiotic, capture particles as a plankton, and take up this soft substance from the waters. In order to fully appreciate the importance of balanced ecosystems such as coral, we must first understand the trophic structure. So we need a little bit understanding on the structure. Okay, so a little bit about the ecosystem. We learn a little bit about the trophic level. Okay. Trophic level. Coral reefs are complex ecosystems that require balance and structure to function properly and efficiently. Imbalance can occur in the intertrophic cascade from the down or to the bottom up. For example, bottom up effect. There is a problem like nutrient-rich agriculture runoff into the coral area can cause increase of primary productivity, because when high nutrients like small thing or micro thing like phytoplankton can grow easily and rapidly. This comes with terms of harmful algae blooms or blooms algae. That effect, which often cannot be buffered by the consumer fast enough to prevent a coral ecosystem from collapsing. So when it's in high density of coral, this can cause hazards to the environment actually. Okay, here there is 3 categories of organisms. Normally it's a very basic science. There's a producer, consumer and decomposer. And primary consumers like herbivores, secondary like prey on herbivores, and tertiary consumers eat other carnivores. I think it's a basic concept I should know. I want to relate a bit on the coral ecosystem. Decomposers are responsible for breaking down any kind of substance or plants or animal within the waters and component. And then none of these categories of can exist without others. They are related. Okay. So the primary producers of coral reef, normally we put the first one is a zooxanthellae, because zooxanthellae, as mentioned there, is very important. The symbiont into the coral, so they need zooxanthellae to grow. If there's no zooxanthellae, means the coral dead. Okay. So filamentous algae, scum of turf algae, and coralline or calcareous algae, and this also can consider like seaweed, non-coralline seaweed, and also filamentous algae growing through the upper layer of the porous reef rock, and benthic and interstitial diatoms, phytoplankton. Okay, as you learn in the marine environment, there is a high density of diatoms, and so we know that these are dinoflagellate. I think some of this information you already know. Okay. There is primary productivity or primary producers in the environment of marine area is like phytoplankton, because phytoplankton is high. And we go towards to the group, we can say that dinoflagellate, diatom is very famous in the marine water because there in the water itself there is a high silicon that important for them to grow. Okay. This is something like calcareous or turf structures, and it's a benthic seaweed. Okay. Here the figures like the calcareous algae inside the water. This is a turf algae is underwater. Okay. Some of the benthic diatom, phytoplanktons and diatoms. Here shape out dinoflagellate. Sorry. Yeah, this kind of dino, and also this is a diatom. There's many species of diatom. I think you already learned in the phytoplankton studies. Okay. I'm not want to. And we turn into the herbivorous fish. Normally this is a parrotfish, surgeonfish, stegatus, tadpole balanese. Where is tadpole balanese? Normally this kind of pictures is something like here. This is a tadpole balanese. This one is a stegatus, parrotfish, and surgeonfish. And there is snails here, and some slugs here also kind of graze on the coral, that too graze on the algae, and herbivorous crabs and green sea turtle also grazing in this coral area. So some of the fish here, you can see there kinds of plankton harvesting, the turf algae removal, microalgae removals, algae detritus and sediment removals, and also algae removal services and sediment transport. This is how kind of herbivorous fish is important in ecosystems. They have their own functions to make sure the balance of the ecosystems in the coral reef. This interaction, I think I'm going to proceed again, because this is how the look structure of the food webs in the coral reef ecosystems. So we see the next one is the primary consumer. Before this, we do the primary producer. So phytoplankton or unsingleton were eaten by primary consumer. Due to the large community of primary consumer of coral reef, phytoplankton levels in coral waters can be 50 to 65%. You see, because so high in terms of diversity, so they are high. They are reducing the density of coral or phytoplankton in this area. Okay. Benthic grazers and some coral species fed by filtering phytoplankton out of water, while other vertebrates like invertebrate grazers eat algae and seaweed, and many species of parrotfish. Okay, I can see from these pictures here, the parrotfish, they eat algae actually on the phytoplankton. They eat algae. This is a herbivorous fish. Okay, the secondary consumer, this animal is in the trophic level feed on primary consumer and consequently the carnivorous. Okay, secondary consumer in the reef can be divided into 4 main groups like zooplankton, feeders, corallivorous. Corallivorous means that any kind of organism that feed on coral tissues. They eat on the polyps, okay? They eat on the polyps. Feeders on other benthic invertebrates, and piscivorous, fish eaters. Like plankton feeder can be a small sessile like barnacles, coral leaf, coral like sun polyps and gorgonians, and small themselves fish and even very big like shark. There's also part of the secondary consumer. Carnivorous can be subdivided into the polyp eater because some of the fish are polyp eater. I just show you here is one of the puffer fish. They eat a soft coral and even they can coral scrapers and mucus feeders. Many species of butterfly fish, themselves fish specialize in eating coral polyps, and some common coral scrapers are triggerfish, parrotfish, and Balinese puffers and butterfly fish. This is one of it. Puffer fish that eat on the soft coral. Some animals that feed on coral mucus are coral gut crabs and shrimps. You know, and even benthic invertebrate like mollusks, gastropod, worm, crustacean are eaten by many kind of fish. And this is one of the fish like godfish, piscivorous and carnivorous that eat fish. Many species are piscivorous, well as some mollusks and arthropods. So we go next to the tertiary consumer. Okay, this is very familiar fish like barracuda. I think barracuda is the kind of on the top of this tertiary consumer and the food chain, and like shark, barracudas, and moray eels. And moray is like we can easily found in the coral area. Okay, marine mammals such as dolphin and seabird is present in the considered tertiary consumer. Actually, maybe if I have an opportunity to be in this another class, I'm really interested on to explain about one of the topic on the ciguatera toxin. Ciguatera toxin is related to food safety that originally from the coral area. This is due to the some fish consumes algae in this coral area that transfer the toxin within the area that are mainly focused on this tertiary consumer or kind of high trophic level, because this high trophic level eat more herbivorous fish that consume it, because it's also related like other fish like barracudas, moray eels. They can find this toxin inside the moray eels. Never mind, that's going to be a different topic, and you can check ciguatera toxin. Quite important to know in a tropical country because we are also related to the food safety. Okay, another last part when we talk about it, even though it is a bottom or benthic area, this function is very important. Decomposers and herbivorous are extremely important in function because they break down all biological matters or waste product and convert into usable energy while returning into the important materials into the environment. So we know that the main decomposer in the coral reef are like bacteria and also play integral parts in the nitrogen cycle. This is a worm actually. This is a worm. I can see here. It's important. This is how this look like on the things. On the top we can see the predator. It's a grazer, vitreous feeder, coral mucus feeder, plankton feeder, because they can consider different things like detritus and night the seaweed, and coral is a part of primary producers, and this is how it look like of the food webs, consumers and producers, okay, in the coral reef area, okay. So we have some important notes here. That's the symbiotic arrangement between algae and coral result in nutrient being tightly recycled within coral area, and internal nuclear cycle is primary importance in maintaining the productivity of the coral reef. And there is such a very in terms of range of productivity in coral area is ranges from 1,500 to 5,000 kilometer squares per year, and values is higher than open water like in tropical area. Even though we know that in terms of density of algae are very less due to the high in terms of consuming by primary producers. But somehow there is also have zooxanthellae in the coral area that what we call they provide they give some in terms of values or in terms of gross primary productivities. Okay, I think there's a little bit overall about the limiting factor, nutrient and everything, but now we need to see how the threats towards the coral reef actually. In terms of ecological, there is habitat of nursery ground and importance like for economic, fisheries and tourism, and also I mentioned that there are reduced coastal erosion because the coral is a wave breaker, and for local tradition and heritage of cultures. Okay, from here we can see how the important because we know normally people say that coral reefs is a habitat for nursery ground because we already many diversity inside the coral reef, and also they can important for food and fishing, and also provide as a protein for billion of peoples, and reef are nursery for mostly commercial valuable species. Okay, we can find easily in the coral reef, and then also that medicine, many of our natural products easily can found in the area of the coral area, but we need to use it sustainably, and also they are protecting our coastal by in means of reducing the wave action. Why we need to conserve the coral area, and also local tradition and heritage, because some of the things they also can use as a part of their heritage on the coral area. So, however, we know that there's many threats to the coral reef. I just show here about the plastic. So, it's quite popular topic currently. There's about microplastic in the water, and also like marine debris, litters. You should be take action now. In a way, we want to protect our environment, because every year there's annually they found out that numbers of plastics that can be found in the water or in the marine area become big issues, and especially can threat on the turtle itself. So we do have that this is going to be controlled, and I hope by these lectures, and even there's many lectures related to pollution, environmental pollution, we need to really consider about the plastic use. Even there are two types of thrips in coral. They say that anthropogenic, caused by man, the impact by human activities, and natural. And mostly something like destructive and non-sustainable fishery practice also can be threats to the coral. And there's one thing like coral bleaching is due to the natural environment, but these are reflect from human activity, and coral mining, pollutions, and also sedimentation, because the reduction of turbidity, high interparticle solid materials in the coral area can disrupt the growth of coral. Okay, that's very important. So we go a little bit very big into topics like climate change also, and warming seas, coral bleaching, overfishing, pollution, and coastal development and sedimentation. So here I share with you NOAA, one of the big agency related to marine environment, how the climate change can cause effect to the coral area. Okay, see, begin from here. Okay, see, warming on ocean is a thermal stress to the coral. As we know that the importance of zooxanthellae and coral. Okay, so we saw the climate change, burning fossil, producing some industrial product, raising livestock, fertilizer crops, deforestation. So you know the world ocean is massive sink that absorb carbon dioxide. Although this is slow global warming, is also changing the ocean chemistry. So high, then come out with ocean acidification, and this is a reduction of pH level. So decreased growth rate of the structure of liquidity, alter ocean current, change in connectivity of temperature regime, change in the precipitation, increase runoff of fresh water, sediment to land-based lake, and alga blooms, storm and pattern, stronger, more frequent storm. This is a straightaway destruction, and there are sea level rise. Everybody know there's going to be increase. So we know that coral can exist in a very shallow area. So when the sea is going to be high, the light penetration is quite difficult, and coral are not easily can grow. Okay, and the warming of the ocean, because the stress, they're going to give some effect on this coral bleaching. Mean that coral, there is no zooxanthellae inside the coral, become the death of coral. Okay, this is about the climate change. Next, we talk about coral bleaching. Okay, what is coral bleaching? Okay, from this figure you can see on this side, there's no color of coral. Okay, this side is color of coral. So due to the what they call as a symbiotic zooxanthellae algae is removed or expelled from the coral. Okay, they cause due to high temperature, stress, pollution. Loss of zooxanthellae turn the white color. Prolonged bleaching and can cause coral death. So they are kind of progressing. There's numbers of coral. Finally, they are become a dead coral. Okay, this is how explanation on coral bleaching. Coral and algae depend on the zooxanthellae. So coral is symbiotic, we know, and stress of coral due to high temperature, change on high temperature, runoff pollution can alter, and overexposures of sunlight and extreme low tides. Low tides also not good for coral, because when the low tides, they are high in terms of water temperature. Okay, they can cause of stress, and coral left breached and vulnerable. So there's no more softening zooxanthellae, and finally coral become dead without the algae. So another one is overfishing. How is overfishing threats the coral? Because there's many destructive, they are called destructive fishing gears. Destructive fishing gears. Coral fish significant for food, we know that. So we not use sustainably, they're going to be very difficult, because many people go to the coral area and do some fishing. So we know that near shore habitat surveys as necessary, and many catching of fish in the net removed before they can help replenish. Because this is you can see the feeding area or small fish, then they can go into the coral side. Okay. Even discriminate fishing use of non-syntactic gears like nets and trap often remove more herbivorous fish. As we mentioned that how the importance of herbivorous fish in the trophic levels. So fishing too many big fish and large fish produce more young and likely to survive at all. This is overfishing. Another thing like marine debris, I mentioned that like ghost traps, loss of net, this is going to effect on the coral area. Okay, this is a most general thing like land-based activity that cause pollutions, something like nutrients, toxicants, sediment toxicants, stormwaters, deforestation. Even though this the deforestation is upstream area and go to the river, and finally they reach to the coastal area and to the marine side. These are going to be changing the water quality, and somehow they're going to become high in terms of turbidity of solid particles that can, due to the current, see this one is connected, river is very important. Even we need to make sure everything is good here, and we can really have a good coastal sites in terms of water quality. All the activities are going to give effects in the water. As we know that coral are in the shallow area, means that normally the shallow side is they are near to the land, okay, the land or the terrestrial. So that all the activity can cause coral destruction or coral in terms of treating the coral reef health. Okay. Okay, so how are we going to protect our coral? So the conservation and management, everybody know, I already mentioned earlier about a very excellent initiative by our region. They have a coral triangle initiative. I hope you can check in the website. and you go in detail what is Coral Triangle Initiative. They have lots of projects related to Coral Triangle Initiative. They come up many kind of efforts in way to protect the coral area, especially in our region. So some of the countries also have made some marine protected area. I know that like in Indonesia also, they have many kind of marine protected area. They conserve the area, and they also restore artificial reef. You can see from this figure, they are restoring on the coral reef, become replanting the coral. They make some structures and put the coral on the structures to growth. This is they come up with the artificial reef. This artificial reef. There's many types of artificial reef in Malaysia. I give you some example, and you can check even in Australia. They call a reef ball. Reef ball. They use a reef balls and they are dumped into the coastal area side of the river, and the coral start to grow on the reef ball, and they create some new environment of coral reef. But other countries like Singapore, they have a lot of effort in where they are making an artificial reef. They are culture the coral, and they come up very good in terms of improving ecosystems. And this effort needs a kind of community-based management and need many people to participate in way to ensure the conservation things is a success. And some of it, some countries also do some sustainable tourism and education. And one of it, this is kind of thing, even is a kind of lectures, but it's important, this kind of awareness thing that everybody need to disseminate the information to other people, how the coral is important to our environment. Okay, so I would like to share some key to takeaways that we know that coral reefs is Asian, I mean, a bit in the long way, as I mentioned about Darwin theories, and also biodiverse and ecological vital. It's very important, and we know that most of the threats to the coral is human activities, kind of major things. We need some conservation, global cooperation, scientific research, and sustainable livelihood. And we know when we want to protect, how we're going to protect coral, we need to ensure that ocean health is good, and the community resilience is very important. How we are as a community, especially in our region, we can help to protect our coral reef. Okay, to end of that, Bapak Adiana, is it I can give students such a very short quiz, and I would like to see their, I mean how they can get my lectures.
Check. Yes, sir.
Is it we still have time, isn't it? Another 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on this session, I would like to have how student can really understand my talks and how to really. Is it student can scan?
Ini boleh di scan ya, kita ada kayak quiz singkat gitu.
Okay, boleh. Saya bagi masa dalam 15 minit ke 20 minit. Anyway, then from there you can see how these topics important and how see my lectures. I need to some evaluations also and student understanding. If anybody have problems on this, just inform me.
Okay, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I wait for you and take your time. And there is two types of questions. It's an MCQ, multi-choice questions, and also true and false. It's very easy, and just want to test some student feedbacks on these topics. Thank you.
Sudah. Ada juga yang lupa mendengar semua.
Setakat ini ada 26 pelajar. Ini bagus untuk ada 26 pelajar. 27 sudah. Ada nak ucap tahniah kepada 2 pelajar yang sudah dapat markah skor perfect tu.
Saya pikir mereka paham apa lectur.
Alhamdulillah. Bolehkah? Semua sudah kan?
Belum sampai.
Belum semua. Okey, tidak apa. Kita tunggu sebentar untuk yang lainnya.
Memang ada pertanyaan seperti beberapa yang tanya.
Excuse me, sir. We will now open the Q&A session.
Okey, silakan.
Alright, moderator, thank you for the time for me to ask this question. Firstly, I will introduce myself. My name is Mario Budianto. Firstly, thank you, Prof, for the very good explanation about the coral reef ecosystem. I learned a lot from this material. We are here as aquaculture students. My question is, what we can do with the coral reef ecosystem? What I mean is, by studying all of this, what job opportunities we can do with coral? What job we can do with coral as a aquaculture student? Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. You are aquaculture program, okay? You know that aquaculture also need to know about a bit part of the coral reef ecosystem, okay? Because when you want to do some cage cultures, some cultures nearby to the shore area, you need to know how it's important to make it a very proper and sustained and to protect the coral reef. Okay, that's the thing I already explained, how the threats. I think activity of human can give some coral. Okay, now your next question is related what types of job and thing you can create from the coral. Currently, you know that people also works in how to culture the coral, okay? How to culture the coral. I hope you learn how to culture the coral, because we know that the coral itself been cultured using the polyps, okay? The polyps, the living thing. As we mentioned that the polyp and the combination of the hard things. Okay, as an aquaculturist, you can know how to the culture of coral, and you know that coral also can become a very ornamental things. Ornamental thing is you can put in the aquariums. You can make it aquariums related to marine animals. Okay, you know, maybe some other places like in other countries like Singapore, they already have the mini aquarium and also the coral inside. Then you can take advantage on that, and you can produce more and sell it into the market as a product of the coral. Okay, that's one of the things as an aquaculturist you can do advantage to become a kind of product of the coral, the soft coral, even the very small coral, to become a product. That's the aquaculture side. Okay. Okay, I hope you can go in depth how to culture the coral reef, how to culture the coral.
Right, Prof. Thank you.
Pardon me, let me introduce myself. My name is Devo Navarro. You can call me Devo. I would like to ask about the coral reef ecosystems. About the about the artificial reefs. I'm interested in about knowing about the artificial reefs that are in Indonesia or in Australia. Is there any way to us to learn how to make artificial reefs in application for aquaculture? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the question. I think currently there's many engagement related to artificial reef. Okay, artificial reef. There are many engagement. Even you can know there are many artificial reef that have been built in Indonesia, like in the Bali area. There's a lot of many artificial reef. If you want to know specifically the training itself, I think most of the training, like in Singapore, is they have very high tech in way to handle on the high technologies on artificial reef, because in Singapore, you know, it's a very small island. Then now many kind of artificial reef built in around surrounding area. I think from Indonesia to Singapore is not very far. Even there is some effort also in the Indonesia related to artificial reef. The best technique you need to study on this reef of polyp biological first, and how certain species they can grow artificially and create on the restoration. But as a kind of ornamental things that people can keep it by self. Also, you can design it by your own actually, because now they also some people are injecting some algae into the coral polyp. Okay, the technology, even like in China, there are many technology related to changing the coral colors, because they can design their own algae itself. By the way, they need to know specifically how the coral grows, and they need to learn it. I think the nearest one, like in Singapore, also they develop very well, especially on coral artificial culture, artificial coral reef. You can go there. Hopefully you can get some ideas on how to be an aquaculturist in the culture on a coral. Maybe I'm going to provide next with Papa Hadiana the detailed letter about the coral activity in Singapore. Okay?
Okay.
If there is no more question, is it possible for me to share about the quiz and we can finalize our class today? I would like to give some, student acknowledgement because their effort. 64 students already responded. Thank you very much for the effort, and I just want to glance a bit and to finalize of the topics today. Is it possible, moderator?
Yes, Prof.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, now finally we share some results of your quiz. Okay. First of all, I would like to congratulate, especially these two students, a perfect score and complete at the fastest two students. I'm not sure is it the right names or not. Aisha, Tia, isn't it? Tia Aisha. Okay, big applause to Tia Aisha. Congratulations, you have a full marks. You can manage it. I think less than 2 minutes, because you already managed as earlier persons to complete and also the second one, Salma Naida Salma. Okay, congratulations. Perfect 20 marks. Okay, and I think there's a good news that I'm going to visit one of the university in Indonesia soon by end of this October, 11 Maret. Hopefully I can pass some of the prize to these two students, to Mr. Hadiana, inshallah. Okay, I'm going to travel to Jakarta on 26th of October. Hopefully I can contact with Ms. Hadiana how to send the present for the big effort for the students. Thank you very much to pay my attention. Other than that, I think I also congratulate 28 students managed to score 20 marks. Even though you have sometimes you need to think about it, no more problem. Overall, you can have a good marks. Okay. Okay. Let's go through the questions. Okay. This is important. Okay. The first question. Everybody can see the first question. Which substance forms the heart skeleton and rebuilding? I'm glad that everybody knows the word is very important. Calcium carbonate. Okay. Calcium carbonate. Every 63.8% done. Okay, this is good effort. I just want to know the feedback, okay? Because some of the lectures need to know how the feedback student can understand the topics, okay? The words like zooxanthellae is benefit, okay? Most of 98%, okay, very good. The Darwin, okay, everybody know the Darwin is about the formation of coral reef through islands, subsidence, and coral growth, Okay. And the final stage of Darwin model is atolls, okay, very good. Everybody can get a very good marks here, 62 students. Hard corals, known as exa corals. Okay, exa means they have six septa. It's very important. I have everybody can remember exa corals. Okay, soft corals. This is a little bit could be difficult. 48 students and 75% has got a spiny internal. Maybe this word sclerates, you need to know that's the kind of components in the soft corals. Okay, which region known as global center? Wow, very good. Everybody know the coral triangle. I said because it sits in center. Okay, global triangle means that global triangle is in our region: Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines. Okay, and Philippines. And the primary producers, okay, we know that the important primary producer is in the coral ecosystem is the zooxanthellae and algae, okay? Okay, coral bleaching. Oh, good. Everybody know what is coral bleaching. Loss of zooxanthellae due to the heat stress. Okay, you can see the answers. Reduce light intensity. Here is put only. Even though we know that zooxanthellae needs light, okay, but other than that is a temperature also. So here that's why. Important. And even the excess nutrient is not the right answers because excess nutrient contribute high in terms of nutrient. They can grow very well. The coral bleaching means that there are no zooxanthellae. I mean the loss of zooxanthellae due to the effects. Okay. Which of the following not an anthropogenic? Okay, everybody good. Everybody can understand what is the hurricanes. Hurricane or storm is a natural environment. Or we know also the tsunami, for example. Okay, okay. Not anthropogenic means it's not from the human. It's a natural effect. Okay. Now we go to true and false. Okay, okay, true and false. Okay, this is a very tricky, might be tricky, is it? We said that, I already mentioned that. So coral are classified as invertebrate. Actually, coral is an invertebrate animals. It's not vertebrate animals, okay? Okay, it's a false. Coral reefs are often called rainforests of the sea. Yes, that's true, because they also can consider high in terms of biodiversity. Okay. Okay, these are facts. I think this is already written in the notes, okay? Occupy less than 0.1, but they support 25% of marine species. How the importance of the coral reef, okay? Coral polyps survives in deep waters when sunlight does not reach. Okay, this is a false, isn't it? Because we said mention about light, okay? Hard coral produce calcium carbonate skeleton, while soft coral rely on internal sclerosis. Okay, this one also relate with the question at the top. Okay, but sometimes maybe some of students confused. Okay, they cannot see this. Okay, majority is very good. This is true. Primary product of include herbivorous forests such as parrotfish and surgeonfish. This is true. Okay, herbivorous fish, parrotfish and surgeonfish. Secondary consumer mainly on the detritus and bacteria. Okay, this is secondary consumer, because we know the detritus and bacteria is decomposers, okay, at the bottom of the top of the coral reef area. So decomposer play a minor role in nutrient recycling with the coral. The answer is not true, because they play major on nutrient recycle, okay. Coral bleaching leads to the whitening of coral tissue. This is very direct question. Okay, we know that coral bleaching are due to the whitening of coral tissue. And the last one, sustainable tourism and marine protected area are key tools for coral reef conservation. I think everybody done very well, and most of it from 64 students. Wow, very big class, 64 students. Total of 28 managed to question perfectly. Congratulations to all, and I would like to say thank you again. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for the very good feedbacks, and I hope this is going to be a good opportunity for us to gathering together. And if you have anything, you can email me. You can get my email address through Mr. Adiana. If you want to discuss a bit about this coral thing, I would like to, I'm really open to do that, and really like to do that, and help students on this one. For that, I would like to say thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Pardon, Professor, can we documentation first before we close?
Yes.
Sudah? Okay, one. Okay, Prof. 1, 2, 3. Prof, we do the freestyle.
Okay.
One, two, three. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you everybody. Thank you all students. Thank you very much. I wish you best of luck to complete your programs. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Samsur, for the insightful and inspiring presentation for today. Before we close today's session, let's take a brief moment to reflect on some of the key takeaways from Professor Samsur's lecture. Coral reefs are among the most biodiverse and productive ecosystem on Earth, often called the rainforest of the sea. This ecosystem depends on the symbiotic relationship between coral polyps and algae, zooxanthellae, enabling photosynthesis and reef building. Coral reefs play critical ecological, economic, and cultural roles, serving as habitats, coastal protectors, and source or livelihood. However, climate change, pollution, and overfishing pose major threats leading to coral bleaching and biodiversity loss. Conservation efforts, including marine protected areas, coral restoration community, pest management, and sustainability tourism, are essential for maintaining reef health and ocean resilience. As Professor Samsur highlighted, protecting coral reefs means protecting the ocean's future and ensuring the sustainability of coastal community worldwide. Thank you everyone for your active participation and great question. On behalf of Universitas Brawijaya, we sincerely thank Associate Prof. Dr. Samsur bin Mohamad for sharing his valuable knowledge with us today. We also extend our appreciation to Mr. Hadian SP, MSc, and all participants for making this event a success. May today's lectures inspire us to continue studying, protecting, and managing marine ecosystem responsibility. Once again, thank you very much for your attention. Have a wonderful day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Waalaikum. Okay, why UK?